Welcome everyone to your 102nd annual meeting of the Ohio Farm Bureau. As you've already noticed, this meeting looks quite a bit different than those that preceded it. Thank you for joining me on our family farm here in Canal Fulton, Ohio. My name is Frank Burkett, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as your Ohio Farm Bureau President. It is my privilege to call the 2020 Ohio Farm Bureau Annual Meeting to order. Over 20 years ago, I joined what I call the Farm Bureau family. On June 14th, Amber and I were married, and the Farm Bureau family joined 3. I look forward to introducing you to my wife Amber, my daughter Ellie, and my son Caden at a time in the near future. At last year's annual meeting, I announced the formation of a task force. The task force was charged to look at the many challenges that we have as an organization and bring recommendations back to our Ohio Farm Bureau Board of Trustees and eventually to our delegate body. I certainly appreciate the committee's hard work, and on behalf of the staff, the entire Board of Trustees, and myself, I thank the committee for their unwavering work. Having a long-term plan in place for the direction of our organization and to meet the needs of our membership is paramount. And we have a strategic plan that serves as that very foundation. As we look to that plan, we also have to recognize that from time to time we have to adapt that plan. We have to be flexible enough as an organization to recognize the circumstances and change course on behalf of our members when needed. As you look to our strategic plan, we continue to work our plan organizationally, and we continue to deliver results on behalf of the members and on behalf of agriculture across the entire state of Ohio. As our surveys have indicated, and as many of you feel across the countryside, this year has brought unprecedented financial challenges to our members. As you look to those challenges, we look to the ways in which Farm Bureau has advocated on behalf of our members. Whether it's programs like the Small Business Administration's Paycheck Protection Program, or the Coronavirus Food Assistance Program 1, or Part 2, these programs have been vitally important for the members in the continuation of their businesses. While we want to recognize those that have contributed to those programs and help them to help us remain viable, we also want to recognize that these programs are not sustainable. Farmers want to receive their money from the marketplace, not from government programs. As we look to the future, we will continue to advocate for programs that emphasize risk management and market development on behalf of our members. These programs will lead our members to an area where they're dependent on the marketplace and not dependent on programs that aren't sustainable for the long term. In addition to the severe financial challenges we have this year, our rural countrysides are also seeing increasing stress. We look to the partnerships with the Ohio Department of Agriculture and the Ohio State University to lead in areas that help us address mental health on the farm and in our rural communities. The simple message: you are more than your farm. If you're feeling financial stress or stress of any kind, we encourage you to reach out to friends, family, or outside support structures to help you through these trying times. Part of ensuring our health, both mentally and physically, is dependent on our access to local healthcare providers. In light of the pandemic, the critical need for broadband across rural communities in Ohio has been emphasized. Whether it's telehealth, working from home, schooling remotely, rural broadband is critical for our membership. You'll see several policies as we move into the business session of our meeting later this week focused around rural broadband access and importance to our members. In order to be competitive, not only globally, but here at home, We need equal access that our urban counterparts have on the broadband front. Thank you for joining me in advocating for these services. Challenging times are always easier with great relationships and great partnerships. Nationwide has been our partner since 1926, delivering financial and risk management products to meet and exceed the needs of our members. Please join me in thanking Nationwide for our continued partnership that's not only served our members for the last nearly 100 years, but will continue to serve our members in the future. Also, thanks go out to the Ohio State University and the College of Food, Agriculture, and Environmental Sciences, working through extension and research, and of course, with the students. Thank you to all those fantastic partners at the Ohio State University. Our commodity partners are also invaluable. Whether we are talking about Ohio corn and wheat, Ohio soybean, cattle, pork, dairy, and the Ohio Agribusiness Association. We appreciate all of those different relationships. You have all been terrific partners. Together, we have worked through so many of these different challenging issues through COVID and other big issues impacting our industry to make sure that the Ohio agricultural community has not only been preserved, but also to make sure that our good works continue through this crisis. COVID-19 sure dealt our farmers its share of challenges, but with those challenges also came opportunities. Opportunities to show agriculture our value. Opportunities to help our neighbors in need. And opportunities to continue to do what we love, to work the land, to care for the animals, and to keep farming, while the rest of the world seemed to stop in its tracks. After 2020, those not involved in agriculture learned just how essential farms are. Those in need of assistance found that Ohio Farm Bureau was always there, ready to help. I had the opportunity to see across the state of Ohio our county farm bureaus rise to the occasion. Whether it was the donation of their energy, their time, pork, beef, milk, to help neighbors and communities that had fallen on times that they had never seen or imagined in their entire life. As I look to the compassion shown by individual members, collectively by county farm bureaus across the state of Ohio, I'm proud. I'm proud of our county farm bureaus, I'm proud of our Ohio Farm Bureau, and I'm proud of our American Farm Bureau. We can do collectively what we can never accomplish individually, and our members continue to rise to the occasion. Time after time, pandemic after natural disaster, it's unbelievable to be able to witness it in person. As American citizens, we have the honor of living in the greatest nation on earth. Across our country, across our state, and across our communities, farmers to continue to deliver food, fiber, and fuel for our nation, regardless of the circumstances that they face on a daily basis. While they're doing that, Farm Bureau has your back. We have your back in Columbus, Ohio. We have your back in Washington, D.C. We will continue to advocate for the programs that help you continue to deliver for America. On November 3rd of this year, our nation demonstrated its democracy with an election that had higher voter turnout than many recent elections. Speaking of politics, our organization is a bipartisan organization. We recognize that politics are messy. We recognize that the United States of America is a melting pot. We recognize that the challenges and the opportunities that exist in this election cycle are unmatched. At the same time, I have the confidence that our nation and our leaders will do their work on behalf of the citizens of the United States to heal our nation. And reflecting on this, I'm reminded of one of my favorite quotes. The will of God will never take you where the grace of God will not protect you. Throughout my life, I've been afforded a lot of opportunities, none as honorable as the opportunity to serve as your Ohio Farm Bureau president. Thank you for affording and entrusting that privilege to me. I know this meeting's not what we all envisioned, and I know we want to join together, share jokes, shake hands, not wear masks, and celebrate as we do every year annually in December. But I also know that Farm Bureau members have always prevailed and always delivered. And I know as you join me later this week for the business portion of our meeting, we will do just that. We will complete the business of our organization. The grassroots of our organization will speak, will deliver, and will set the path that we'll follow for the next year. And then, God willing, I look forward to joining all of you next year in person as we celebrate our next Ohio Farm Bureau annual meeting. Thank you. Thank you for the honor to serve. And on behalf of the Board of Trustees and staff, thank you for being a Farm Bureau member.
Greetings, Ohio Farm Bureau leaders, staff, and members. I'm pleased to be joining you virtually today on behalf of nationwide associates across the country. I always look forward to sharing time with you at your annual meeting. Many nationwide leaders, board members, and retired board members are joining you online tonight in proud support. Hopefully next year we can go back to breaking bread in person. I'd like to start by thanking you for everything you're doing for American agriculture and your communities. Because of the hard work on your farms and the grassroots advocacy of Ohio Farm Bureau, we have a stable and abundant food, fiber, and fuel supply that sustains life. For more than 94 years now, nationwide and Ohio Farm Bureau have proudly worked together to provide solutions and protection for Ohioans. It seems just about every conversation these days starts out with talk about unprecedented times. And there are certainly valid reasons for this, but in many ways, I feel like we should reframe the perspective to unprecedented opportunities. We have unprecedented opportunities to work together for the betterment of our communities and agriculture. There are unprecedented opportunities to provide healthy foods to a growing population, urban and rural. And we have unprecedented opportunities to unite and advance our communities. Farm Bureau annual meetings are vital for sharing knowledge, communicating, gaining understanding, and lifting each other up behind one commonality: agriculture. Through cooperation, networking, education, and mutual support, I'm confident that together we will succeed even during the most challenging of times. For Nationwide, 2020 has been one of the most challenging years in our history. I'm proud of how Nationwiders have managed circumstances within our control and responded to those outside of our control. 2020 has given Nationwide a chance to show what we're capable of. Throughout it all, we've led with our values, our number one value being we value people. We've delivered on our mission to protect people, businesses, and futures with extraordinary care. And when farmers and ranchers needed help, we were there. The derecho that struck the Midwest in August was the equivalent of an inland hurricane. Grain bins, empty in anticipation of a bountiful harvest, were destroyed instantly as it stormed across 770 miles of the heartland. This added to an already difficult year for farmers, but I'm proud that Nationwide responded quickly to help our friends in agriculture finish their harvest, and rebuild. On the West Coast, our farmer and rancher friends were contending yet again with wildfires. And down south, a record-breaking hurricane season continued to wreak havoc well into November. But this is why we exist, and I couldn't be prouder of all of our associates who worked to respond to members this year. And I'd be remiss if I didn't speak about the pandemic, as it's changed all of our lives. As you know, the effects on agriculture have been dramatic, especially early on when the food supply chain was truly tested in an environment of low commodity prices. But farmers persevered, as you always do, and you continue to adapt to an unpredictable economic environment. For Nationwide, we also found ways to rapidly adapt. In March, in remarkable fashion, we shifted all associates to work from home. We also began using new technologies to keep our customers safe, like virtual claims adjusting services. And we sent money back to customers through a rapid relief refund for auto policy holders faster than any other insurance provider. Through it all, we've adapted and innovated to meet the needs of customers and our associates. While we're hopeful for a vaccine, we must remain vigilant to keep our members and our associates safe. The pandemic has exposed vulnerabilities in our society that we must continue to address through compassion, understanding, and education. Economic turmoil has caused record unemployment, leading to food insecurity. According to Feeding America, the pandemic may cause more than 54 million people to experience food insecurity in 2020, including 18 million children. That's 17 million more people than before the coronavirus outbreak. And in Ohio, 1 in 8 kids will go to bed hungry. As leaders in agriculture, we can do something about this by supporting local food banks and other organizations working to address food insecurity. I'm proud of Nationwide's continued partnership with Feeding America to help with this growing problem. Locally, my wife Cindy and I are working to end hunger as co-chairs of the Mid-Ohio Food Collective Capital Campaign, another worthy cause. Shelter is also important, as we know children develop and learn better when they have a stable place to call home. At Nationwide, we've recommitted ourselves to fair housing through $1 million in support of the Keys Unlock Dreams initiative with the National Fair Housing Alliance. The future of agriculture is very important to Nationwide. That's why partnerships and support of 4-H, FFA, and the Young Farmers and Ranchers program continue to be an important priority. As a 4-H alumnus myself, I know firsthand how leadership skills learned early can last a lifetime. I'm also proud of our continuing support of ag educators through the Golden Owl Award. This exciting program continues to expand into new states across the country. It provides support and recognition for those dedicated teachers shaping the next generation of ag professionals. As we move into 2021, Nationwide is strong and ready to adapt, to change, and to the unexpected. We've been there for members during times of economic turmoil, adverse weather, market volatility, social unrest, and now global pandemic. We will do what we always do, lead with our values, and act in our members' best interest. And we'll maintain strong relationships with government officials who help us advocate for our members and partners regardless of political party. Your challenges are our challenges, and we wouldn't have it any other way. That's the value of partnership. And Farm Bureau partnerships are among our most important. Thank you again for everything you do for Ohio agriculture, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Well, welcome to the Ohio Farm Bureau annual meeting. Thanks again for being strong Farm Bureau members this year in 2020 that saw unbelievable challenges, of course, to our industry and to our communities. Thank you again for all the work and the resilience that you've shown as members in dealing with all these challenges. 2020, of course, brought along a pandemic that nobody could have predicted. And also, of course, the impact that had and the disruption it had on our agriculture industry and our agriculture economy felt, of course, all the way down to the farm. We also saw social unrest this year. We also saw trade disruption, which also impacted our farm economy. And then, of course, a presidential election. If you look at all these things in total, we're used to obstacles on the farm. This was certainly a year of obstacles, but I am so proud of the work that our members did in showing that resiliency to work through these challenges and to have a year that ultimately we saw a number of successes in. We most certainly learned a lot in. So thank you for taking part in the annual meeting this year. So first, starting off with the impacts of COVID-19 on our organization. We had to react quick back in March. We were, of course, right in the middle of a county president's trip. So we had all the county presidents together, which actually worked out very well. That way we could talk a lot about what was happening on the front side. We had to move the organization to a spot where we were protecting our employees and protecting the interactions of our members. And I'm very proud of the work that happened very seamlessly and very quick with the organization to adjust to this new world that we've been trying to deal with, right, for the last chunk of the year here, really most of the year. So we moved also into what we had put together as a staff is a continuity of operation plan, a COOP plan as we call it. And it was something we put in place right at the beginning of this situation in March, hoping to never have to need it or use it. But it was something we felt was important to make sure the organization could continue to operate in case there was disruption. Unfortunately, we did have to use part of that plan when we had the very unfortunate untimely loss of Yvonne Lasisko, our Vice President of Public Policy. Yvonne, as you all know, was an absolute force of nature and a force for our organization and a force for Ohio farmers. And we miss her dearly. We miss her every day. Her work lives on, though, as you all know. She was an absolute champion on so many terrific issues that we've been able to continue the work of throughout this year. And certainly with all the troubles with COVID, it was something very near and dear to her heart was to work through these problems. She organized her team quickly when this all began back in March and April. We surveyed our members and we received over 1,500 surveys back from our members that talked about what they were seeing as problems and challenges. And the team was able to quickly adjust and start working on those disruptions to agriculture. The main things that we heard from you was cash flow. Also impacts to the market, right, that you are marketing your products through. And then certainly your access to protective equipment so that you can continue to operate under state ordinances and state orders. So we appreciate your patience and also that terrific feedback you gave us fast on the front side of the COVID situation so that we could adjust and lobby for you and advocate for the things that you needed on your farms and in your farm and food businesses across the state. The first major action under the COVID disruptions that we were able to take action on was declaring agriculture a critical infrastructure, or something that obviously was very important and needed to keep happening. We needed to keep food production happening in the fields, and we needed to be able to have food flow to the consumer. So that was a big deal, and believe it or not, it wasn't easy. This was something that we've been a part of at the federal level and the state level. We worked very closely with the federal government, Department of Homeland Security in particular, with American Farm Bureau, and then also with our, here in Ohio, with the governor and his whole team to make sure that ag was declared essential. And that, again, was something that needed to be done. Nobody had done that before, so this was a new level of work, and we were very proud of the work that we were able to do with state government and federal government and rapidly get agriculture declared critical. Cash flow is the next piece. We talked about delaying the filings for taxes, buying more time for farmers to be able to file their taxes, which we were successful at. We also then pushed for additional assistance on cash flow. And out of that came the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP, which I know many of our members across the state applied for and received funds. So very successful program from the federal level that we were able to advocate for. Also then CFAP 1 and 2. So both of those programs have also come along, and we advocated to make sure that it wasn't limited, that the CFAP dollars didn't just go to a couple different commodities, that it was spread across the agriculture industry, because we know that the impacts were spread across the entire agriculture industry. So we were also very successful at that, very proud that that was able to be accomplished, and working together with farmers across the country. That was something that Farm Bureau advocated very strong for with the leadership of American Farm Bureau. So a really nice piece of work there by the organization nationally. talked about county fairs, and a lot of concern about the fairs, especially on the front side, that we're going to be able to even have any fairs. We advocated very strongly and worked closely with the governor to make sure that they put together a task force that put up guidelines, and we had several members on that task force that created guidelines for county fairs to be able to have an option. If they wanted to have junior fairs, they could have their junior fair following those guidance, and as we know, many of them did across the state. We work closely with the county fair managers groups, also 4-H Extension, Ohio State, FFA, and others to make sure that those opportunities were still there for young people across the state here this past summer. And as we know, we have many successful fairs across the state despite all the challenges. Another important piece of our work was securing funds to replenish the Commodity Credit Corporation at USDA. A lot of folks don't know too much about the CCC, but the CCC, we advocated for $14 billion to be put back into the CCC and replenish that fund. That fund then protects things like the Dairy Margin Program. It puts money back into that dairy program, for example. Also conservation programs, also the Market Facilitation Program, price loss coverage. Many of those farm programs that provide assistance to farmers are replenished and paid for through the CCC. So that money got drained early on, and we advocated to replenish that dollars and were successful at being able to do that. It's a big deal. Farmer mental health was a big deal this past year and has been for our organization for many years. But as we've seen market volatility, we've seen other challenges in the agriculture industry, it was something we focused on this year a lot. It was something Yvonne Lasisko really took to heart. It was a big part of the work that she was doing for us. We worked closely with the Ohio Department of Agriculture to make sure that we had resources compiled with them and available through them. Also at the Ohio State University to make sure we had a number of resources available to our members about farmer mental health. We trained our staff to be able to have conversations with farmers about how they're doing and be able to talk about things. And then we also worked with the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services to train their staff so if they get phone calls from people who are involved in agriculture and farming, that they knew how to have a conversation with folks that are in our line of work. All those services together provided a lot of different information out there, and we're going to continue to do this, of course, because it's a very important part of our community is caring about each other. Something that was important both at the county farm bureaus this year as well as statewide and even nationally was we worked closely with USDA to provide food assistance. And in fact, there were $3 billion worth of produce, meat, dairy products that were purchased and then made available through local food pantries and food banks. So we appreciate the work that happened at the federal level and at the state level on this issue that many of you took part in, but also at the county level. County farm bureaus worked across the state to make sure that food was provided locally through these different food assistance programs to people in their communities. It was a big deal. It was very helpful. It's also a big deal in a time like this where we knew people were struggling and there was a lot of questions about food security and also food availability. Well, despite all the COVID issues that we dealt with this year, there also were some non-COVID related issues that we also spent a lot of time on. And in fact, we're very proud of a couple big successes that we had in that space. The first one was H2 Ohio. This is, of course, the water quality program that the governor, that the legislature put in place that we advocated for. And in fact, through our Healthy Water Ohio program a number of years ago, helped build a roadmap that they did use. So this program, of course, launched this year. Early on, we had 2,000 farmers in the northwestern part of the state sign up for that program. It was focused just in the northwest part of the state this year. Of course, COVID came along and disrupted the funding mechanism there. But ultimately this summer, we were still able to work with the state and get $50 million in contracts out to farmers to do good water quality work in the northwestern part of the state to help Lake Erie and to help those watersheds. So thank you to many of you who I know are taking part in that program. A very important issue for us also was the Lake Erie Bill of Rights, or LEBOR as it became affectionately known. This was an action taken in the city of Toledo. It was a ballot measure that passed that gave the citizens of Toledo the ability to file lawsuits against farmers and businesses on behalf of the lake across the Lake Erie watershed. This was very troubling for us, for farmers, and we were very appreciative to see one of our terrific members, Mark Dravis, and his family stand up and file a lawsuit to challenge the legal ability of the city to do this and for that action to be taken. That was a terrific action that happened literally the day after the ballot measure took place and it was passed. 1 year later, back in February, the district federal court judge ruled in favor of Mark Dravis and his family, striking down the LEBOR action. So a terrific win for farmers, because we do know that while they're trying some legal actions up there that really did not make sense and were not going to help the lake, we know that actions like H2 Ohio and other things and many conservation practices that farmers are doing in the watershed are the real solution to help the lake. We took two important actions this past year looking at the future of Farm Bureau. First was Frank Burkett, our president, appointed a membership and financial strength task force. That group did a lot of work this past year. We appreciate their work and their recommendations that are now coming forward and you'll be learning a lot about. Many of you in county farm bureaus participate in that process. Thank you for working with this group to put together those recommendations. The second piece is called Farm Bureau Forward, and many of you heard a little bit about this past year as I spoke with a lot of county presidents about it. This was a data-driven project that we worked not just in Ohio Farm Bureau, but also with many other state farm bureaus across the country to get survey and information from you, our members, to talk about who we are now and what you do want from our organization as we move forward for the next 5, 10, or 20 years. It's a data-driven project, and it's given us a lot of great feedback. We're looking at membership and how we want to deliver value to you, our members. What does it mean to be a member of Farm Bureau, and what value do you get out of the programs and services we provide? It's very, very important, and it's a key part of this activity. Also, the structure of our organization, the communications that we do, the marketing work that we do, the programming we offer, how we're organized and how we deliver all these things to you, the member. Those are all important parts of this Farm Bureau of the future and the effort that we're looking at. Both of these pieces, the recommendations from the task force and the ideas that are coming out of the Farm Bureau of the future work, will both inform our next strategic plan. That strategic plan will be in place for the years 2022 through 2026. It will guide us on where we're going for the future. So thank you for all your input that's going into putting together our Farm Bureau of the future. We're looking forward to some exciting changes that are also going to deliver, I think, very exciting value to you, the member. I want to say thank you to our many partners, starting off with Nationwide, a terrific partner that we've worked with, of course, for decades. We appreciate the partnership and all the different programming and all the different services we've been able to provide our members, working through this tight business relationship and terrific partnership that we have. Also, the Ohio State University and the College of Food, Agriculture, and Environmental Sciences, working through extension, research, and of course with the students. Thank you to all those terrific partners at Ohio State University. Something that was important to me when I first came into this job was looking at the vision and future of our organization, the diversity of our organization. We talk about diversity in agriculture. It's both small farms and large farms and everybody in between. It's making sure that we have young people involved and definitely mature folks who can give counsel and guidance to our younger members and mentor them. These are important parts of who we are, making sure that there's a growing number of women in our industry, and certainly in Ohio, what we've seen through the census is a growing number of women who own their own farms. So we appreciate these kinds of diversity in agriculture and growing that. It's important for our organization. We talk about all the traditional programs that we offer, but also non-traditional. We talk about Explore Ag. We talk about AgriPower. We talk about all the scholarships that we give. When we look at things like the Young Ag Professionals program, all these programs are very, very important to the future of our organization. It attracts young people into our organization. Many of those are coming through 4-H or FFA, and they're exposed to our industry. They know about food and agriculture and careers. But also we work very hard to make sure we're attracting folks who I call non-traditional. They're people who don't come up through 4-H or FFA. They don't know that they could be part of this organization. They don't know that they could have a career in our industry. So those programs like Explore Ag is a great example, and many others that we do that help attract young people into our industry, into the food community, who may not otherwise know that they have an opportunity. So thank you to all those of you who've been part of those programs this past year and helping to grow those efforts. They are important for who we are now and where we're headed in the future. Thank you for being a member of the Ohio Farm Bureau and also for being active in your county Farm Bureau. It's your voice that's kept us strong through this year of all kinds of challenges. We also look forward to next year, where we can be back together again, both in our county farm bureaus and our meetings all across the state, and also at our annual meeting. This last year is not a new normal. I'm looking forward to next year where we can be face-to-face again, because these meetings are absolutely a critical part of who we are, and I look forward to seeing you all face-to-face in the very near future.